Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 1 of a brand new series called Party in the Back. And basically this series is featuring the station wagons or estate cars that are featured on GranTurismo 6. There aren't that many to choose from, only around the same amount as in the Heavy Hitters series, so it's going to be a relatively short series. And of course this week another series ended, the Heavy Hitters series, which means that next week there'll be another new series starting as well. So in this first episode of the new series, we're featuring one of the strongest all-round estate cars in the game. It's the Audi RS6 Avant, specifically the 2002 shape RS6. Now most people by far who buy an RS6 buy the obvious choice, the 2008 model. It's the fastest and most powerful estate car in the game. It's a no-brainer. Why would you want to buy anything less? Well, for one thing, this car is cheaper than that version. A lot cheaper. Around 50 grand cheaper to be exact. Now it's still an expensive car alongside the RS6 Saloon of the same model year at 117,000 credits. But the newer model is 166,000 credits. So for those who can't afford to splurge so much on a car on the game, it's a good deal. Now as far as the engine, it's powered by a 4.2 litre V8 instead of the V10 that you find in the newer model, and it can be tuned up to, interestingly enough, the exact same peak power as the Audi R18 Le Mans prototype. That's 841 brake horsepower. It also puts out a very impressive 656 pound-feet of torque, and pretty impressively for an estate car, it's not all that heavy. Now it's certainly no flyweight, but it's not that heavy either. It weighs 1,395 kilos, and thanks to that pretty reasonable weight and impressive power, the power-to-weight ratio on it is, again, very good. In fact, it can rival some supercars. It's just over 600 horsepower per tonne. Couple that with Audi's trademark all-wheel drive, extreme acceleration off the line, and a very healthy top speed, and it's a pretty good deal all round, especially considering that it does, as I said earlier, undercut the newer model by a significant margin. Top speed-wise, this car can do around 250 without NOS, so it's no slouch. Not quite as quick as the newer model, again, but considering how much less power it has, that's not too surprising. Unfortunately, alongside the RS6 Saloon, it's not a premium model, so you don't get the detailed interior, which is kind of a shame. And in general, you really don't see that many people using this car. You see a fair amount of people using the newer model for obvious reasons, and you see maybe one or two people here and there using the RS6 Saloon of this shape. But I can't think of a single occasion where I've seen someone use this car on GT6. I'm sure there are those of you guys who own the car and who love it, but in general, it gets very little use from most people. Now obviously there are a lot of cars on the game, so every single model can't get really the use that it deserves. It's just not possible. But this car is genuinely deserving of use. Now, there are not many people who, or not many people that I'm aware of, who do competitive wagon racing, because, as I said at the start of the video, there's not that many to choose from, and the choices that are there are kind of obvious. It really just boils down to Audi for the most part. They have three very, very strong estate cars, and apart from Audi, the rivals, although not bad, can't really keep up, not in a straight line anyway. They just don't have the power. Now there are going to be some decent wagons in this series, including from Subaru, Mitsubishi, and even Volvo. But the Audis overall are arguably the strongest. Now this car, as far as downsides, well, I would say it only has one, really, and that is the diff. All-wheel drive cars can, as many people know, be quite temperamental depending on how you set up your diff and also your centre diff. This car's no exception to that. And the added length of the car when compared to the saloon version mean that the cornering is something that you really have to take into consideration. It's a pretty big car, so you can't take corners in this with as much nimbleness as you could with a smaller machine without heavy modification and careful setup. So the differential is the main thing that I would advise taking care with when tuning this car. As far as performance, it takes care of itself. It's a seriously rapid machine. It can get off the line with nitrous in around 1.5 seconds or less. So, as you'd expect from a powerful all-wheel drive car, it's very quick off the line. As a track car, it certainly has tons of potential, not least of which in the estate car category. But beyond that, it's still a competitive car, and depending on the colour, of course, not necessarily bright yellow like I've gone for, but depending on the colour, it can actually be a pretty good sleeper car as well, for drag racing, for drifting as well, because of the advantageous weight distribution of an estate car, and also because it's just a sleeper car. People don't expect a wagon to be that quick. So, that's it for this first episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.